Hey, Joe De Sena here. I got Dr. L right here, and we're about 863 books in on this book signing. What does that leave us? 137 books left to sign. If you want a signed book, you got to go click on the link on Instagram. There's probably a link on Facebook. We're sitting in the office here. We're answering questions. We'd love to hear your questions. My wife is running the control panel behind the computer. You can't see her. And I don't know, we're going to sign books, talk, and answer questions. The big question that's come about is, why did we write the book? And really, it's because my wife didn't think I was a good parent. And she's like, you got to do some research on parenting if you're going to stay in this relationship and continue to raise these children. So I figured, let's go get a doctor. Let's talk to a doctor. That's Dr. L. And just see if our methodology in the house of pushing the kids to do hard things and getting them outside their comfort zone and just constantly driving them towards being independent was a good idea or a bad idea. And Dr. L, you know, we interviewed about 50 psychologists and no one agreed, 49, and none of them agreed with us. And then Dr. L, she said everything we're doing was right. So we thought she was perfect.
Yeah, finally, I came to your rescue.
Finally, we got a good one. Yeah. And by the way, I do that with doctors, by the way. If I don't get the answer I want,
yeah, just go to the next one.
Just keep going to the next one.
It's good practice.
No, but the great thing about Dr. L is she has a practice where families, children are coming in to see her. And what she's seeing, I'll let her talk about it, but what she's seeing is the result of not doing this kind of parenting.
Right, 100%. Well, here, I'm gonna get you started because you're gonna.
Oh, I gotta sign, but can you, while I'm signing, can you?
Yeah, so it's, you know, I've been in the therapeutic space for 20 years now, and unfortunately, I've seen things go from bad to worse, in the sense that kids are not only less prepared for the rigors of life, but that parents are pandering more and more. And I think the thing that I'm realizing the most is that parents just don't really have the skill set to parent from the position of resilience. We gotta get a system here. Because the truth is, in order to parent from the position of resilience, you have to be resilient. I mean, in order to set boundaries with your kids, you have to set boundaries with yourself and with other people. So really, in a lot of ways, like the beginning of the book, for both Joe and I was about figuring out just how to be a resilient human, which Joe knows all about. So Joe, I'm curious from your perspective, like on that, why is resilience important? Like we talk about it being one of the most Googled terms. How did that come to be in your own life? Like how did that come to be a word that was important to you?
Yeah, I don't know why. When I reflect back on my childhood, I remember just thinking about things like this at a very young age. And one of the things I thought about was like, we're going to face resistance in life. Maybe it's because I had a wild upbringing and we're all going to have to deal with it. Like there's going to be challenges, setbacks, obstacles. And so I started thinking from a very young age, people practice the piano, they practice math, social studies, go down the list.
Right.
Why wouldn't you practice adversity? Why wouldn't you do hard stuff? So at a young age, I started taking cold showers like 35 years ago. And I was like, maybe it'll just make me tougher. Maybe it'll make me more prepared to deal with the stuff that's going to come anyway. I mean, somebody dies that you're close to, God forbid, there's a car accident, people get sick, you have a tough time making payroll, businesses go out of, like shit happens in life. And so why wouldn't you practice so that when it comes at you, you dust it off and you're like, no big deal. So that was my mindset.
Right. Which is the mindset that we want anyone who reads this book to have, that resilience doesn't happen overnight. And we talk in the book about that it's actually, you're born with it and then it goes away for a little bit through learned helplessness and then you got to get back. So it doesn't happen overnight, but through small steps, we find a way to get there. So, all right, Courtney, any questions?
Sure. We can start with Greg from Minneapolis is asking, what or who inspired you to create the Spartan race?
Greg from Minneapolis. Minneapolis is a tough place, tough weather up in Minneapolis, right? Who inspired me to do the Spartan race? So I think it was a little bit of what I just said. I think taking those cold showers at a young age, watching my mother meditate for long periods of time. And then she introduced me to a race in Queens, New York called the Transcendence Run. It's a 3,100-mile run around a 1-mile loop, still exists today. About 8 people do it a year. And then I stumbled upon adventure racing, and I stumbled upon Ironmans and marathons, and I just got really excited about putting on events and living this lifestyle in the wilderness or in jungles, or I just had so much fun doing it myself. It was so transformative that I wanted to do it as a business. And around the year 2000, I started putting on events. Most of those events were 350 miles long. No one wanted to do them. I remember toning it down for one event. If you guys Google, anybody watching, if you Google a guy named Mike Novogratz, he's a good friend of mine, good friend of our families. And he's like the guru in Bitcoin and you know, all these digital currencies right now. But when I finally decided to shorten the race, was a race from his house to from my house to his house. And I don't know, maybe it was 30 miles. And it took us one day and we had a blast. And I added all kinds of crazy obstacles, like you had to go buy a lobster and then carry the lobster on your bicycle. Nobody knows the story. Carry the lobster on your bicycle for 10 miles. Like, it was all kinds of crazy stuff. And that was the beginning of changing the format. And then the next race we put on was a death race. And it just kept turning into something that started to look like Spartan. And by 2010, it was called Spartan. It was military inspired, and it worked. But I think part of the reason it worked too is Facebook was becoming more popular, so people could share images and videos and their commitments to signing up. A lot of folks were coming back from the Middle East that had been engaged in a tour of duty. CrossFit was becoming really popular as a style of working out, and that lent itself to coming in. So it just, right time, right place, 10 years after I started, which is a message to anybody listening. Businesses take a long time sometimes to work, and anything worthwhile takes a long time.
So
signing all these books takes a long time.
Your interviews yesterday took a long time.
My interviews yesterday took a long time.
Raising family.
These are all for you to send.
Oh, gosh.
So when did Spartan Kids come online?
Spartan Kids came online maybe maybe a year after we started. And I remember our kids were doing them. And you know, I don't know if you know this or not, but like in China, where we have our largest kids events, we'll get 25,000 kids show up to an event. Here in the United States, I think we get we get a lot of kids in the United States, but we don't have any events with 25,000. There should be 25,000 kids at our events. I just had a good friend, by the way. A good friend just texted me. He was going to come to Fenway, which is coming up, I think, November 13th-ish, here in the Boston area. And we were going to bring the entire wrestling team. And he writes me, he says, well, I don't know, what if the kids get hurt? And it's like, they're wrestlers. Are you kidding me? If a wrestler can't do an obstacle, we're like, what? Now we're treating wrestlers delicately? Anyway.
Not a good look.
Not a good look. Not a good look. We should call him. You want to do that? Let's call my friend while we're on the live. He won't even know we're going live, and we'll put him on the spot. Let's see if he answers. Hang on a second. Stay with me.
I'm gonna commit 100 kids.
Let's see here. This is risky for me because who knows what he's going to say. My wife said I should tell him that he's going to be live. Hey, question for you. The toughest sport I know is wrestling. That's why my kids are doing it. Like, I'm looking for combat sports, wrestling. My wife wants me to tell you something, but I'm not telling you. So, no, I'm not telling you. I'm not telling you. Listen, we're wrestlers. The kids are going to come do Fenway. It's our entry level Spartan. No one is too delicate if they're a wrestler to do it.
He's
Come
laughing.
on, what are we doing? Let's get them there.
That's fine. You don't think they're gonna be sore from running the stairs?
They're gonna be sore. Are they gonna be sore? Do you see the problem with this country? You're live, just so you know, you're live on Facebook right now.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I'm sure you might have heard worse language from you, but, listen, so it is out. I know this money is an object to you, Joe, but over $4,000 is gonna cost me to take my boys.
What he's saying, if you guys can't hear him, my buddy is saying that he spent $4,000 to get them to a wrestling tournament in Oklahoma. And he just doesn't want them saying, hey, I'm hurt or this or that. And no, we're gonna wrap them in bubble wrap. And we're gonna get them through the Spartan race in bubble wrap and protect them because they're delicate, the little Chinese teacups. And I'm sure that's politically incorrect. I'm sure I'll get busted for that one. And you're doing it. You're doing it. All right. All right. See you. Bye. What?
There you go.
Is she also a little teacup, or is she? Do we have to bubble wrap her? Because I got to order.
She's tougher than any of the wrestlers out there. I've been trying to get her to wrestle.
Perfect. Perfect. All right. So then I only need two bubble wraps.
How old is she? How old is she?
I need an extra large one for you. All right. I'll see you later. Bye. That's awesome. Thanks to you guys. We got them. We put
There
them
you
on
go,
the.
changing lives.
We change
in
lives.
The real.
Yeah, but I think that's the problem, right? That's a perfect
That's
example
one example.
of the problem with parenting today.
Well, it's like when we took that call yesterday on the radio and the woman, and I asked the woman what she was afraid of if she didn't get her child a tutor. And she said, I'm afraid of failing the class, and then it's like, well, but then what? Like,
Right.
that's okay. What happens next? All right.
Yeah,
Courtney.
what's the big deal? What's the big deal if the kid fails? The kid is gonna learn how to not fail next time, because you gotta feel the pain if you truly wanna change. That's the deal.
Do you guys want to hear another question?
We wanna hear
Yes,
another
All right,
question.
this one is from Gary in Magnolia, Texas. It's a long one, so bear with me here.
Yeah.
Joe D, big G here. When I was 12, my dad ceased giving an allowance. Instead, he paid me half of what I earned outside the house, up to $2 a week, and in 1969. So that's $10 plus today. I started shining shoes at a barber shop until I was 16, when I went to work at a grocery store and dad's $2 a week stopped. So the pros were he had to run or bike to his job, learn to hustle at an early age, had money to buy video games or whatever, but little time to play with them since I was working a lot. Cons, you're on the street a lot making your own rules at an early age, but all in all, a great learning experience for me. I was streetwise by the time I entered high school, which served me well. What are your thoughts about kids working outside the house today and at what age?
So Big G, I think I know who you, I think I know who you are, my buddy from Texas. Is he from Texas?
He is Magnolia, Texas.
I know who he is.
Mhm.
So Big G, there's a story about him when he got a job at one of the big consulting firms, maybe PwC or one of the big ones. He would work so hard and stay so long that the buzz around the office was, don't worry about the horse, just load the wagon. Because he just got the job done no matter what, no matter how busy he was. So Big G, clearly your parents' parenting style worked. And this idea of bubble wrapping kids and protecting them and this thing and that thing's a bunch of nonsense. So I say we bring your dad back and we bring all those old dads back and get back to the old way of parenting. Really, this book should come with a cinder block, in my opinion. You should get the book and a cinder block, and the kids and the family should have to carry it around because, yeah, that's the right way to parent. It's the right way to parent.
So in our home, we obviously have chores, but we encouraged our oldest to start his own lawn mowing business this summer. But we did a matching program. You know how in companies right now, there's like, if you take this much out of your, paycheck, the company will match it. We do a matching program with our kids. So what they save at the end of the summer, we'll match it,
I like
which
it.
encourages, and they're 10 and 7, but it encourages them to have that mindset of, oh, delayed gratification, right? We
Right.
talk about it in the book. If I don't spend it now,
Right.
I'll get more later.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Mhm.
I like it a lot. In ancient Rome, all the people living in Rome quickly understood, as well as all the scholars, that the problem with the kings the problem with the kings and queens weren't necessarily the king or queen that was ruling at that moment in time, but it was their children who grew up in the castle and were pampered, and they were going to become rulers, and that might lead to a disaster because they didn't have that grit, that resilience, that compassion that comes with that, because you can appreciate,
Right.
like, pulling yourself up from your bootstraps to make it into the castle someday. So the worst thing we could do for the kids, our kids, is like give them a bunch of stuff because we didn't have it to make their lives easier. No, actually, the best thing you could do is take stuff away and make it harder. Like my wife here has decided the kids are going to start sleeping outside. It's way too comfortable in the house. So we set up
Yeah,
we set up tents outside, and they're outside.
they're
It's a
fine.
little weird in the suburbs, but
But they're fine.
they're fine.
Winter's coming. So.
Right.
Winter is coming.
Can I ask another question? So
Yes.
Rachel from Detroit, Michigan wants to know, what is your morning routine?
Everybody wants to know the morning routine. I think people have an issue getting up in the morning. That's why. My morning routine is to wake up early before 5 and then get up, go drink 2 big glasses of water, room temperature. I put a little apple cider vinegar in there. And then I head over to this indoor bike I have. This is my latest routine. I get on kicks for a while. This is my new kick. I knock out 10 minutes of hard on the bike. I'm soaking wet already. I then go over to a rope climbing machine I have like this, my buddy made for me. And I do 30 minutes on the rope from a horizontal position, more of a wrestler's stance. And then from there, I wake the kids up. Now it's about 5:40-ish, 5:45. Get everybody up. I usually play AC/DC, or if I'm lucky, I have a bagpiper go through the house and just make tons of noise. The dog is barking, the bird is screaming. My wife wants to kill
It
me.
is so painful. This is all true. It was like the worst thing ever for like the first 5 minutes.
Lights go on, and I'm screaming at people, and I'm pulling their toes, and maybe if they're not listening, I pour water on folks.
It's so hard to wake up sleeping children. It's so hard.
And then once everybody's up, then I've got to do, I do a run, burpees. And then my latest thing is I go in the sauna and I get it up to like 150 degrees, and I do a workout in the sauna for the last, call it 20 minutes. So it's about an hour and a half, ice cold shower. Kids are getting off to school. I'm on my way to the office. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't come in the office these days, so here we are.
So question for you, because if
Yeah.
the family's watching and they do none of that, and
Yeah.
they think that's a little insane,
Yeah.
where do they start?
Well, listen, all the studies show that having children work out before school enhances their ability to learn. So that's a non-negotiable. The kids have to work out before school. It could be a 1-mile walk, whatever. Unfortunately for you, 99.9% of children are not going to naturally just jump out of bed like I just described. So you're going to have to do the hard stuff. It's hard to do. You're going to have to get them out of bed. You're not going to win a popularity contest. If my wife was standing here and I was standing 5 feet away and the kids were let loose, and even if I had 4 containers of Haagen-Dazs, they would go to her. They're not coming to me. So I'm not winning the popularity contest. I will win when they're 30. They're going to say, Dad was right. Dad was right.
They run to you too. They do like you.
I'm just telling you, that's what's going to happen.
But it's
So-
true. Every time I hate waking them up in the morning, but they're always happier after
Every
they
day.
get up. And you know what we do is the dogs, you have to walk your dogs before school.
Gotta
It's
walk
like
the dogs,
an
yeah.
easy thing to do. Okay, want to hear another one?
Yep.
Tyler from San Antonio, Texas wants to know, what's the biggest lesson you have learned as you have tried to parent with resilience?
The biggest lesson I have learned is, I think what I just answered, like, this is not a popularity contest. It's going to be hard. My dad was easier on me. My mom was really tough on me. And I didn't want to be around my mom. I wanted to be with my dad. He was cooler. He let me stay up late. I could have Chinese food. I could play video games. And when I reflect back much later in life, she was right. He was wrong. So you're going to have to make some hard choices. The kids, the family aren't going to like it. You might not be on the same page with your wife. You're going to have, or husband, you're going to have to sit down and figure out where you guys intersect and lay out some sort of compromise. on that, you know, maybe it's not 5 a.m., maybe it's gotta be 6 a.m., or whatever it is. By the way, if this conversation, guaranteed you're gonna have this conversation with your spouse, which is, they're not getting enough sleep. And the answer is they gotta go to bed earlier. That's it. The time they wake up doesn't change. That's mandatory, that's required in life. People that get jobs, they have to wake up early. The only thing that could change is what time they go to bed. Take their devices away at a certain time. They have to go to bed. Well, what if they have sports and they get in late or homework, whatever? Deal with it. That's life. That's life. I had to deal with it in college. You had to deal with it. So that's the deal.
And I would say too, from my perspective, one of the things that I've learned is that kids, they get it. They may not in the moment like it, but they get why you're doing something. And I'll tell you a story. So both of my kids climb. My oldest boy is 10. My youngest is now 7. But my youngest is a little bit more timid on the routes than my oldest. And I came in and he was in the middle of climbing practice and he was bouldering where you're not attached to anything. So if you fall, you know, you fall on the mats, but you're not attached to ropes. And he had gotten super high up on this one particular boulder. And I came in and he's with his coach at the bottom and he's at the top and he's grabbing on and he looks over and he sees me. And I can tell he's scared, you know, you just know as a parent when your kids are scared. And he keeps looking over at me, thinking I'm gonna come or wondering if I'm gonna come and help him because he keeps looking down at the coach and the coach is doing nothing, you know, just coaching him. You can do it, look for the next hold. Because coming down is always harder than going up. And I stood there and just watched. And eventually, you know, it took 7 minutes maybe, but he figured it out and he got down and he came over and I could tell he was a little bit shaken. We get in the car, we're driving home, and he says, Mom, I know why you didn't come over. And I said, oh, you did? Why didn't I come over? And he goes, because you knew I could do it. And that's exactly what we're talking about here, which is like the message that you're sending your child when you allow them to meet adversity is you're sending them the message that they can handle it. They can do it. And even if they fail, you're sending them the message that they've got the skills needed to recover from that failure and to make that failure resilience. So that's what I've learned for sure is that kids get it. They definitely get it. They are in a lot of ways smarter than us. So don't be afraid that they won't get it.
Next question.
All right. Let's see. We have Landon from Dallas, Texas is asking, what's the balance between pushing your kids to do hard things and enduring, but not being too strict and tough, which can cause burnout or resentment?
Yeah, you know, the difference between like too strict, too tough, burnt out versus just being, you know, hard on them and challenging them is when I think about all the wrestling tournaments I go to with the boys or the practices, there's a couple of dads and moms that are just like crazy people screaming at them, unhappy with their performance, this and that, and like throwing chairs. And like that attitude, there's no place for it in parenting, period, end of story. And many of those kids I've seen years later, and I've asked, oh, let's get the kids together to wrestle and whatever. And all my kids don't wrestle anymore. It was no wonder, right? So like, look, you could be firm. And if the whole family's bought in and your husband or your wife aren't taking the other side of it, so there's, you know, differing messages in the house. If the whole family's bought in, you guys do it and you do it together as a parent, you model it, and you're not screaming at them because you don't like the outcomes or what. Like I'll yell at the kids if they're not giving 100%, because my answer to them is, look, I don't care win or lose. I don't really care. What I care about is that we work hard. Like if we had a family crest, if this was 1,000 years ago and we had a family crest, it would say, nobody cares, work harder. Like that would be our motto. So I think that's the difference. I don't know if you agree.
No, I totally agree. I mean, I think at the end of the day, your children have to know that they are worthy and deserving of love and belonging. And I think that's how you differentiate between when you're pushing them too hard. When they start to not believe that anymore, then you want to intervene. Then there's something you're doing wrong. But I would definitely say that, you know, pushing hard, you have to push
Can we do
hard.
all these?
Yeah.
All of
We're on a mission. We are on a mission.
them? You know how many?
How about for every one of those you do a burpee?
There's like 5,000. There's like 5,000 of these to do.
Actually, Mark from Philadelphia wants to know how many burpees can you do in one
Oh,
sitting?
why don't you go
How many
ahead?
burpees
How
can
many
you do?
burpees can you do in one sitting?
One sitting.
One
Most I ever
attempt.
did, most I ever did in a row was 4,200. I did it in just over 8 hours. I'm ashamed of that performance because when I reflect back on it, I know I had more in me, but there's no excuses. I just handled it all wrong. And due to the post 4,200 PTSD, I have no interest in reattempting.
That's true. Another question, Kathy from Louisville, Kentucky is asking, what inspired you and Dr. L to write this book? You kind of touched on it at the beginning, but can you tell us again?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you just look at the data of the obesity, the diabetic rates, the depression levels. I hate that, so much physical education is leaving the schools. Yeah, and that's it in a nutshell.
One question you got a lot yesterday though was it the pandemic?
No, it wasn't. The pandemic was just an added bonus. We started before the pandemic. There was a pandemic before the pandemic, and it was lack of hardcore parenting. Can't even call it hardcore, but resilient parenting, whatever you want to call it, right? Like, I remember having the discussion at least a year before the pandemic that like the world needs this.
Mhm. Another question, Sarah from Boston is asking, what is the hardest part in parenting, especially in today's age? How can we help our kids build resilience and mental toughness?
I think the hardest part is just getting on with it. It's just saying and making the commitment that, look, we're not going to just be there and give Johnny or Susie every single thing they want when they want it and protect them from anything harmful. No, we're going to raise adults and we're going to challenge them. They're going to be outside their comfort zone. We're going to be outside our comfort zone, and making that commitment, because the easy thing to do is just to make them have, oh, take the phone. You're not oh, you want a piece of chocolate, take the chocolate. Oh, you want to stay up late. That's the easy thing. That's easy parenting. Hard parenting is, no, we're going to do the work, and it's not going to always be fun, but it'll be rewarding. You agree?
Well, yeah, and I would say too that, I mean, as parents, we are up against a lot, and especially now when you've literally got people like me being hired for companies like Instagram and other social media companies to tell them what's the best way to get children addicted to our product. I mean, just think about that for a second. Like, that's crazy, but it's happening. So we are up against a lot of new comforts, new technology, new availability and accessibility to things that we didn't have to deal with when we were kids. I mean, we didn't have we didn't even have cell phones. So we had call waiting, and then we had the busy signal, and we don't have those things anymore. So I think from that perspective, it's the new and changing landscape that I think can create some struggles. So if you use these 10 rules for resilience as your guideposts, as your benchmarks, like the things that pitch this tent that help you grow the family and are always referencing back to those, you're going to nail it.
Mm-hmm. All right, and another question, Frank from Phoenix, Arizona, is there a difference in approaches between sons and daughters on how you teach them to build resilience? Good question.
It's a really good question.
I treat them the same. I think, unless you tell me otherwise. Like, I almost lean a little harder on the girls, because I feel like they've got to work a little harder in life. So why would I go easy on them? Our oldest daughter this morning was trying to get out of doing her pull-ups, and my wife, who's sitting here, was like, "Oh, she's got to go to school or whatever." But I know she had 2 minutes to knock out the pull-ups, and everybody was trying to wiggle their way out of it. And I held firm, and sure enough, she went in there and she knocked out the pull-ups. So it's easy to get those eyes from your daughter, right? Because society has said, oh, the boys would work hard or whatever, but no way. Like nothing would make me happier than to see the girls in basic training in the military. So yeah, I don't think there's any difference, except you got to work harder with the girls.
Yeah, I would agree. Not a lot more to add.
All right. Hold on. Let's see. TJ in Colorado is asking, how many Spartan races have you done since starting? And how many people attended the first ever Spartan race?
First ever Spartan race was about 700 people in Vermont. We've put on, I'm winging it when I say this. By the way, one of our employees is sitting not too far away right now. He came in, he braved the wild to come into the office, like not a lot of people come into the office these days, or any office anywhere for that matter, which really upsets me. But he braved the wild to come in here to help. You might have to start signing books with me at some point over here. But you know, if I had to guess how many races we've had, the first year maybe we had 5. The second year maybe we had 25. The third year maybe we had 50. We eventually got to 300. I'm gonna say, oh my goodness, it's gotta be 1,500 events. We probably had 1,500 events at this point, which is crazy.
Isn't that crazy?
How many have you done?
That's good. Yeah.
How many have I done personally out of the 1,500? Again, guessing, I've done 10% of them, 150 events. Yeah, in the early days, I used to walk around with a stick, not kidding. And I would like chase people to motivate them. I got really pissed me off if somebody was walking. Yeah,
It's true. You'd go backwards.
I would go backwards. I would run the course backwards, I'd forward and just chase people all day long.
All right. Here's a question from Mikey in St. Louis. How many Spartan races are there each year? Do you still compete in them?
Here we go again. Nice. Yeah, bring some water. 325 in a non-pandemic year, 325 events. And I have not, I'll do them, but I've not competed in a while. My best time ever, which I'll never repeat, was in Tuxedo, New York, maybe 2011, 2012. And Hobie Call had done Saturday, and don't quote me, and he had done it in like 38 or 39 minutes. And I went out the next day, I had jeans on, and I was just for exercise running from the start line up the hill, because I just wanted to get some exercise. And I found myself in first place at the top of the hill. So I just said,
Sure.
I really did. And so I said, I might as well run the race. I wasn't planning on it. And I started running. I was like, let me see what I got. And I think I did like 3 minutes slower than Hobie. And that was my
Once in a lifetime.
once in a lifetime. The lightning had struck. Everything was aligned, never to be repeated.
No.
How about you, Dr. Allen?
I don't know how many I've done. Maybe 20. But I will say the very first time I did one was the very first time that I met Joe, and I showed up to AT&T Stadium in Dallas, Texas, where like the biggest TV in the world is. Just watching these tiny little ants like move around. And I thought to myself, like, this is the embodiment of therapy. Like, I ask my clients to do hard stuff all the time. I ask them to carry the weight of life and to like weed through the muck and mud of difficult decisions. And I was like, and Joe's figured out a way to actually put people through exactly what I do in therapy in a physical way. So it was a pretty cool experience for me. I love it. And then I started competing and doing age group. I did pretty well, if I might toot my own horn.
She was never that good.
I was pretty good. Yeah, I was pretty great.
We have a lot of banter back and forth, Dr. L and I.
Because I'm smart.
She feels inferior, and so.
So it's a travesty when I'm around him because I just sink in his greatness.
Yeah.
All right, next question.
Next question. So Sean in New York, wants to know, what do you typically eat in a day to fuel your body?
You know how many of these there are?
I
You
do.
go
We'll
first.
get through it. I mean, this is a lot.
Questions or books? Not that
No,
many
these are
questions.
for
Just-
books.
We got, yeah, for the books.
These are for books.
I mean, I probably eat very similarly to what you eat.
More salad,
Yeah.
right?
More fruits and vegetables, primarily things that come out of the earth. I used to have a game that I would play with my children. Is this real food or fake food? And they would have to tell me, like, it's real because it grows from a tree, or it comes out of the earth, or it's fake because it's made in, it's made in by a machine. So yeah, more real food, more foods that come out of the ground. That's what's on my plate. And that's what's on my kids' plate. Listen, this is part of the book too, which is how do I get my kids to eat the right foods, right? I mean, my number one recommendation would be start early for those who haven't started, like just start feeding them all the foods from a young age. But if you already have kids and you didn't do that, that's okay. It's never too late to start. Just make the things that you want them to eat available and make the things that you don't want them to eat not available. Like it's really hard for kids to pick the raspberries off of the kitchen counter if you've got Sour Patch Kids on the kitchen counter. So remove the Sour Patch Kids, replace with raspberries. And for those parents at home that are making 5 different meals for each child at dinner, stop doing it. Make one meal, they've got to eat it. If they don't eat it, then they go to bed hungry. They're not going to die. It's going to be fine. They'll wake up the next morning hungry, and then you can eat them, make them a robust breakfast filled with good foods. That's my.
So we agree. I'm laughing for something else, I'll tell you, but we agree. And I tell people all the time, I have a buddy, 92 years old, maybe 94, who has only eaten raw fruits and vegetables for 55 years. And he's doing really, really well in his 90s. And he's basically showing the world that you don't need a bunch of animal protein. Now, I grew up in an Italian house. I had a grandmother that used to make meatballs all the time. My mom, we had sausage and peppers and all that before my mom became vegan. And so I do have a lot of memories around meat. So I go back and forth, but at most I eat meat once a week. And I'm not crazy about it, but once in a while I want a meatball. And so I tell everybody, just eat a salad with every meal. If you eat a salad with every meal, and don't turn your salad into a pizza. If you could just eat a real salad with every meal, you'll be in great shape. I'm laughing because I got a text from my buddy Devin Brown. He's out in Indiana, and Devin will tell us, I think he bought like 1,000 books when I came out with Spartan Up, literally 1,000 books. And he just sent me a picture of me he made me sign those books way back when.
Oh man.
And he just sent the picture. He said he's also pissed off that I didn't send him an advanced copy of this book. But
He does
Devin,
deserve one.
I was in Abu Dhabi. I was in the desert. I had a falcon on my shoulder, and I was on a camel, and I just got pulled in for this. So I apologize, buddy.
Nice. All right. Question from Tony in Charlotte, North Carolina. What was the hardest workout you have ever done?
I will tell you, it was when I went to the farm and you asked me one morning, do you want to do my workout with me in the morning? And I was like, oh, sure.
Was it really the hardest?
100%. It wasn't in the moment. I was like, oh, this is fine. And then I woke up the next morning and I was like, can't move. So, and I'm a runner, I'm an athlete. Yeah, that I have to say. And it was just those small little micro movements you do. That was the hardest thing. Yeah.
It's funny.
What about yours?
Hardest workout I ever did. God, it's all a blur. I've done so many.
Didn't you do a really cool workout with a military group where they had you?
Would have been with the Air Force.
Yeah.
It was with the Air Force. They brought me down to Spec Ops down in Florida, where they train a bunch of the Air Force folks that operate less in airplanes and more on the ground. And they zip tied my hands behind my back. They put weights on me, threw me in the water. Then they wrestle you while you're. That was a crazy 3 or 4 days. That was good. Anytime I'm really close to puking, it's a good workout.
What was the hardest, how do I say this, hardest mind workout you've ever had? Like the hardest problem you've ever had to solve?
Trying to figure out how to survive as a business during COVID.
Yeah.
This has been, it's amazing that we're still here and that we're signing books right now, because we were in the wrong business for COVID.
Anti-social distancing.
We needed to be selling social media and computer screens during the
Sanitizer.
pandemic. Not.
What's your favorite part about this book? That's my question. Like, what are you both most proud of?
About the
that's-
book?
Well, like, what do you think families will really use out of this? Like, out of the 10 rules, which is the one, if you're
One that's
gonna
most
just,
exciting?
yeah, like, if someone's gonna only read one rule, you know, or one part of the book, what do you like the most?
You go first, or you want me to go first?
I'll go first. Because I'm better. For me, it's the first one, the very first rule. You can't until you can, because it is all about mindset and trying and realizing that whatever step we take next, there's a mind component to it, right? There are things all the time that are stuck in our heads that keep us from doing the great things that we want to do. And I think especially as a parent, there are so many little micro moments where you intervene with your child, you know, where their pencil isn't sharpened and so you go sharpen it, you know, or they can't find something in the kitchen and you say, well, let me just do it. Or they just ask naturally, Mom, can you get me water? And you go do it. And I think, so there are so many moments, just tiny little moments during the day when you can intervene not only with yourself, but with your kids to teach them that they can instead of they can't. So for me, that's number one rule is my favorite rule.
My favorite part of it is sitting down with your family and creating a mission statement.
Yeah.
And getting everybody aligned on what you guys stand for, what your values are as a family. Because I could really envision 10 years further ahead where one of our kids is about to make some decision, stupid or smart, and reflects back on, wait a minute, what did my family teach me we stand for? And that helps guide, hopefully, a better decision. And it's something you would do in business. So it's something you would do in team sports, but I don't think people naturally consider it as part of their family, you know, operations.
Okay, hold on, I wanna do an intervention. Okay, put your marker, if you've been noticing, he's been signing with his right hand. Put your marker in your left hand and see how fast you can.
I can't until I can.
Right? It looks awful. Okay, show them what it looks like. Okay, so this is exactly what we're talking about in the book, which is that when you start to do something different, you're gonna have immediate resistance. Like the immediate thing that Joe said was like, I can't, right? And then he did it and it looks horrible.
Yes,
Whoever gets that signature, I apologize.
Oh yeah, maybe that'll be a special, maybe I'll do.
Do all of them
I'm
in
gonna do
left.
all left-hand signatures.
Yeah,
You guys-
yeah. But I think that's like also one of the most important parts of the book for us is remembering and teaching you that this is gonna be messy. Like you are not going to emerge from this a resilient parent immediately. So you just have to practice, do the work, commit, make sure that you read the book cover to cover. You might have to read it 10 times in order to truly like get the message. But exactly what he just demonstrated is exactly what we're talking about. It's gonna look messy, and whoever gets this left one, it's like a collector's edition.
That is a collector's edition, big money edition.
Okay, I think we have time for maybe one more. Yeah.
Hang on, is that John from San Francisco?
This is Jeff. He wants to know, what is the next exciting book gonna be about?
Ooh, the next exciting book. We haven't even finished signing these books and you already want another book. We wrote a fiction book. We've got this unbelievable story that we started, I don't know, 6 years ago. And it takes place in ancient Sparta and then works its way to the modern world. It's gonna be better than the Avengers, better than Harry Potter. You are gonna love this story. I don't even know if we have a name. I don't even know if we have a name for the book yet. We don't have a name,
I
right?
know. The kids are asking me about it though. They're like, "When's
Yeah,
that
I
coming
gotta, well, we gotta get through this book and I'm sure the publishers are listening right now, so they'll call,
Their ears are perking up.
they'll call when we're done.
All right.
Well, we gotta go, guys. I think we're almost done with 1,000 books. You guys are awesome. Devin Brown, bringing back memories, those old days of signing 1,000 books with you. I don't remember where we were. But we will catch everybody later. I don't know how do we unplug this?
Yeah,
thing?
thank you all so much for coming. We really appreciate it.
You guys are awesome.
Bye.
Hey, this is John Acuff, New York Times best-selling author of 7 books and someone who's done a live signing. If you like the one you just watched, make sure you check out our YouTube channel. It's full of amazing authors having great conversations and signing books for viewers just like you. So make sure you subscribe, and thanks for watching today.